This is the Canna Mom Show, a podcast chronicling the inspiring stories of real women in the emerging cannabis industry. Your host, Joyce Gerber, mom, lawyer, political activist, has been speaking with women from coast to coast and around the world who are leaders in the revolution of cannabis and caregiving, continuing on her mission to lift up the stories of the women creating the cannabis industry by sharing their canna stories with you. So go make yourself a cup of tea or roll yourself a joint, sit back, and learn something new about this magical plant on The Canna Mom Show with Joyce Gerber.
From the Tip O'Neill Studios in North Cambridge, Massachusetts, it's The Canna Mom Show. Now here's your host, Joyce Gerber.
Welcome back to The Canna Mom Show, where we continue our mission of crushing cannabis stigma. I'm going to start doing the Daily Show, Jon Stewart.
Just scribbling random things on a random piece of paper.
I mean, I actually have notes because I'm old-fashioned, but I do have paper. All right, so we're welcome back. We've been away for a little bit, right, Dave? But we're back. It's like riding a bike.
That's right. Fun time on 420 at the Goods in Somerville. It was great.
It's awesome, and I just want to congratulate Nick Escoto of the Herbal Creative Kitchen right there in Westwood, Massachusetts, Dave.
Oh, right near me. Yeah.
Right near you. He is the winner of the hemp guitar by Lampkin Guitars. He was very happy to win it. And so that was fun. I'm glad he's a winner. He does not play the guitar, but he's got a lot of cool friends. So everyone's excited for him to bring it to his parties.
I mean, you don't have to play the guitar to appreciate what a fine piece of art the hemp guitar is.
It was.
I was impressed.
You were, yeah. Dave was a big part of the interview, so if you haven't heard it, he asked Josh lots of questions. And because you put purple, what did you put in for the song?
Purple Haze.
Purple Haze. It was YouTube. YouTube tagged me or something.
Oh, it knocked it off? Oh.
Yeah.
It'll probably allow you to keep it on there. You just can't monetize it, I think. But
I never monetized
come on,
it anyway,
YouTube.
So, yeah,
that's fair. That's fair use, YouTube. I'll read you chapter and verse of the Copyright Act if I have to.
All right, there you go. Lawyerly stuff here. It's not just about pot people. Right. All right. So Mother's Day. Mother's Day is coming up. There's so much mom stuff going on. But I'm just going to skip right over May because whatever. You'll see it on my newsletter. But I do want to give a big shout out to an event I'll be attending in Orange, Massachusetts. You ever been there?
Worcester County, I think.
Yeah, somewhere out in the middle of Massachusetts. It is going to be held on Saturday, June 1st. It is called the Ganja Ball and Art Gala, which is being held at the Revival Wheeler Mansion right in Orange, Massachusetts. Like I said, and it's supposed to be a haunted mansion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
It's middle of the state. People who don't know Massachusetts, it's a revived mansion, and she holds events there. And this is her first cannabis-friendly event, the Ganja Ball. It's going to be a night of, they describe it, creativity and fun. There will be dancing. There will be mingling. There will be artwork to admire. And it is all about celebrating ganja. There's going to be fancy dress and hats.
Well, I mean, what more could you ask for? Yes. Orange is a nice, peaceful place. When I worked for Lawyers Weekly, I tried to visit every courthouse in the state. They have a tiny little courthouse, Orange District Court.
Is it haunted?
It may be. It may be. It's old enough.
All right. Well, I'm staying there. I'll let you know. All right. So there's going to be tickets are just available yesterday, I think, which is actually a week ago. I'll include it in the show notes. It is organized by Brandy Lefsick, whose her Instagram site is Hometown Yogi. If you want to check her out and learn more, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's like about 100 people limited, but to have a cannabis friendly event at this mansion area is a first, and if it works well, maybe it'll become like one of those places where cannabis events are welcome.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah. Weddings, people. It could be a cannabis wedding there.
I'm sure there are a lot of those these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I went to like a conference years ago before COVID. I think they're back. All right. It's all sorts of ideas here on the Canna Mom Show. All right. And just before we meet our guest, oh yeah, who's going to have a lot to say about this? Okay, Dave. So lawyerly stuff.
Okay.
The latest happenings yesterday, which is a week ago, with the recommendation that cannabis be moved from Schedule 1 drug on the Controlled Substance Act to Schedule 3. All right, so I have my own concerns why this may not be so great. I went to a lobby day in Washington a few weeks back regarding this issue. I know businesses are excited. It's a way to ease up on banking and money issues, which we all talk about constantly. Hopefully research as well, which is a good one. It comes down to the regulations. I don't know how that's going to work. It's not going to keep people out of prison or decriminalize the plant, which is sort of an issue. I don't know. You know a lot about this now because I talk about it endlessly. What do you think?
Mhm. Well, what do I think about what specifically? Sorry.
Like it's going from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And so
Yes.
the regulations, the loyalty stuff, like there's complications there, right?
Yeah. It's a controlled substance and all that. But see, you know this. I haven't read up on
Oh,
it.
you haven't been paying attention when I talk about it.
No, I do. But does Schedule 3 mean it's a less dangerous drug 2 notches down?
Yeah, so 1 is like no medicinal benefits, which we know is false. I would like to see it descheduled completely because
I see.
alcohol and tobacco aren't even on the Controlled Substance Act, and they're way more dangerous. If you move it to 3, this is my concern, is now it's a federal medical, and then that just ties you up in all sorts of other stuff. There's all this concern in the policy world about big alcohol, pharmaceuticals taking this on as a medicinal product, and the business part will get confused, but there's states issues. It's really messy. I think
I get it. It's just it might be the only small step towards progress that we can make right now, right? I mean, is there any active movement to make it unscheduled altogether?
Well, there are some bills, but you can't get Congress to do anything. I don't know. I'm just my fear from my policy people who actually understand this, and I really don't, is that I could get stuck there, and that's what's going to happen. So I don't know. It's an interesting industry to be in. I'm going to ask our guest because I'm sure she's got lots of ideas.
Very cool.
All right, so that's that. Criminalize. Okay, that's it. I am happy to be back. We have about 8 episodes left in season 5. I'm gonna keep it going. So let's meet today's guest. Thanks, Dave.
All right.
All right. Today's guest. Today's guest joins us from Westfield, Mass, where she founded Safetiva Labs with a team of self-proclaimed science nerds on a mission to optimize the relationship between cannabis growers and their lab analysis. She founded Safetiva Labs with the mission of raising the bar for scientific integrity, customer service, and ultra-fast turnaround times. But before that, today's guest was a tenured biology professor at Hampshire College. She promotes diversity and social justice in the sciences and aims to keep humanity at the forefront of business. Today's guest holds a PhD in molecular biology from Caltech and a BS in biology from Bridgewater State University. Please welcome CEO and founder of Safetiva Labs, Megan Dobro. Welcome.
Hi, Joyce. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's just start with business stuff. Just tell us about your lab and what woman-founded, woman-centric. We talk about this a lot. What makes you a little bit different, and then we can kind of go in backwards, like why you're even doing this.
Yeah, great. So, I had the luxury of studying the market, watching what was happening in 2018 and 2019, and testing labs were in dire need. The turnaround times were 8 weeks long, and I was able to watch the technologies that labs were using. And as a molecular biologist, I felt like there was a better way. And so I got really passionate about testing. I studied everything I could. And it got to a point where I thought to myself, why not me? Why, no one looked like me. No one had my background. People were doing it who, I was like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So
maybe we should just back up on this. So Massachusetts, so everything who's produced in Massachusetts has to be tested in Massachusetts. Is that true?
Yep.
And how many labs are there actually before you even came up with your own lab? Like how many labs are actually doing this?
So there were 2 when I came up with this brilliant idea, and now there are 16.
Okay.
So many people had this idea.
Okay.
And so we have really needed to build Safetiva to differentiate ourselves. It's no longer a commodity service anymore. Each lab is doing things a little differently and, representing a different ethos, a different approach. And so I've really focused Safetiva on customer service, making sure that we've really got our clients' backs, that they understand why testing is valuable data for making better products, looking out for consumer safety, ultimately, doing that as fast as humanly possible, because their products aren't doing any good sitting on shelves in vaults. And then making sure that we are promoting scientists who represent diversity, who are excited about what we do, and who are really here for the right reasons. And so I've been really excited watching Safetiva build from nothing to something that I believe really stands for something.
So
And
how many, so it's again, we talk about job creation, scientists, science in the industry. So who are you hiring? What do their backgrounds look like? How do you get into this kind of work? It's a whole mystery to me, honestly.
yeah, we've got mostly scientists. I'd say
Okay.
90% of our staff are have a science background.
Mhm.
And so we hire everyone from technicians who maybe they did this in college or they worked in another lab and they're looking to get into the cannabis space, up to we've got very technically savvy scientists who have been doing this for multiple decades in other industries coming into cannabis. Um, and so for me, it's more about hiring people who don't have an ego, who are willing to work well with others, who are willing to roll up their sleeves and get the job done and do what needs doing. And so
That's a very like caregiver kind of mentality. All right. Which is what we talk about.
I think that needless to say, we have a lot of women.
Again, it's what does leadership really look like? That's sort of, I talk about that all the time. All right. So let's talk about Massachusetts industry growing and growing and growing. What kind of businesses are you working with? What kind of products are you testing? I don't know. Are there things that are happening? Well, let's just start that. Who are you working with and what kind of products are you testing? And then we can go into the more of the minutia. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So anyone who is producing in Massachusetts needs to work with a lab. And so it's just a matter of what lab or each profile of a company choosing. We tend to work with a lot of small, locally owned companies who are doing craft products.
Okay.
We have big companies as well, but we're only in Massachusetts, and so we're not making multi-state deals. So we've got some really passionate cultivators. We've seen some really fun edibles, lots of drinks. Drinks are a big wave.
Drinks are big, really
Drinks
big.
are big, and they're difficult to test. And we really had to spend a lot of R&D time to perfect that testing
All right,
process.
why? So why are, again, these are all different products. These are like flour is the flour. It's a biological process. And then all these other things are different products. So how do you figure out how to even test these things? Like a drink comes in, how did that start? Yeah.
Yeah, we have to know how it was formulated. So it takes a lot
Okay.
of communication with the client to understand what the composition of the product is.
Mhm.
For edibles, whether it's high sugar or high fat will really impact the testing. For drinks, how it was emulsified is going to impact how, because ultimately we are extracting the cannabinoids out of the product and we need to know what we're extracting out of.
Mhm.
And so it's a back and forth communicative process with our clients to understand what they're doing so we can make sure we're delivering accurate results.
It's like so mind-boggling to me. It just, again, this is different in every single state. People hear me say this all the time. This is the way legal products in Massachusetts are supposed to be handled, which seems, it's a lot, but you know what you're getting. And then I went to Washington, D.C., and they still have head shops that you just walk into and you buy a sticker. And the guy said, he's like, I said, what is it? Like, is it labeled? He's like, well, no, but we all smoke it before we sell it. So we know it's good stuff.
So they are the testers. It just looks a little different. Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between the black market, the gray market, the legal market is how was it tested? What kind of safety backing can it claim?
All right, so back to beverages. So beverages are a big deal in my world now. Everyone's doing it. You get drops, you have beverages, things are seltzers, they're juices. They aren't supposed to have more than 5 milligrams of the THC in it.
Right.
And there's different ways to emulsify it. I have heard this too. And then it impacts how you actually it works, metastasizes in your body, how it works with your body. So what are you testing for when you're testing a drink?
So we test for cannabinoids. We test for to make sure for safety that it doesn't have any solvents or heavy metals. Microbial tests are big, especially with edibles. They're a food product. They need to be shelf stable. We're seeing a lot of brownies and cookies and candies and things that microbial is really the biggest concern there. And then likewise the mycotoxins that can result from microbes. So it's a full suite of compliance testing that's required by the state.
All the stuff you can't see that kind of creeps me out when I talk to you people who are biologists. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even want to look for that. All right.
Yeah.
So you're working with smaller crafter, these are food edible products. We're drinking them, we're inhaling. Are you doing any topical kind of things? Is that anything that you have to test for?
Yep. We see salves and lotions and bath bombs, and those are fun. Yeah, we see those too.
Those are good products. Okay. I'm gonna go back to something I saw you posted about. So I'm gonna ask you because I don't really understand it. So you said, are you ready for the changes coming to the Massachusetts cannabis market? And you were talking about different lab calculations. I have the whole thing printed out. I can't really understand it. So can you explain to us what the new regs mean or how it's gonna impact the market?
Yes. In order to do that, I need to explain what the problem has been historically.
Okay, yep.
The problem is that the testing regulations are vague, and each testing lab has different interpretations of what they are supposed to be doing. And that has led to variability of results. And so producers can send the same product to multiple labs and get very different results, which leads to lab shopping. If they get a result they don't like, they just go to a different lab. It would be like if you went to go to get your blood sugar tested and you got a number that you didn't like, you were like, I don't like that number. I'm going to go to a different lab.
My cholesterol's too high. I'm going to go somewhere.
Right.
All right. That's okay. It's science, people. It's supposed to be standardized at some
It
level.
it should be so clear that there is no other interpretation of what we're supposed to be doing. And so the CCC has a big job to refine what the testing regulations have been so that we can standardize. So that was the effort that the new changes are working toward. And we're going to see many more changes this year. They've promised 7 more bulletins or something like that, so that for the year there will be many changes. So the first change is there are 2 main issues that they're addressing. One is potency inflation. Obviously, producers make more money the more THC is in a product. They can get more money for it on retail shelves. And so they have been lab shopping for high potency numbers, high THC. What this bulletin did was it made it so that the labs were using a standard calculation to determine how much THC or how much CBD was in a product. Believe it or not, labs were using different calculations. Total THC meant something different to different labs.
But there's nothing standardized.
So right. So now there's a standard calculation that we should all be using. So that was a good move.
So when we do something in Massachusetts, is that being copied by other states? How's this working across other regulations? Like
every state for themselves.
Okay.
There has been a lot of copying, pasting. Certainly the labs are looking toward other states who have been doing this for a while to have examples when they're writing their own regulations. And
Can I like in the real world, like in the normal world, the not cannabis world, like the salt, like do other food products have different standards in different states, or do we have a federal guide?
It's a federal guide. It's not state by state. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting as we move toward descheduling and or rescheduling.
Which we are going to talk about.
And hopefully descheduling sometime.
Okay, so I actually don't like that everything is at like ridiculously high THC levels. I think it's actually counter helpful. I just think it's my friends don't want it. I don't want it. But I know that they think they're marketing to dirty 20-year-old boys who all like want to do is get stoned. So you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Do you think like 39 is actually like a ridiculous number that shouldn't even exist? Those things that I see.
Again, it's about definition. When labs were using whatever calculation they wanted to use, and when they were doing moisture correction, which I'll talk about in a minute, I believe that the 39 percenters were true for what the lab was doing. But I don't think that the plant is really producing 39% of its biomass to be THC. And so the other piece of the bulletin was when we have buds arrive at our lab, we measure how much moisture is in there, because the regulations say that we report THC based on the percentage of THC that is the based on the sample weight. So we weigh the sample, we measure how much THC is in it, and that's the percentage of the weight that bud contains THC in. What we were doing was we were weighing the sample and then drying it out in an oven and then weighing it again and assuming that the difference was made up by moisture.
Okay.
And because the regulations said that we had to report THC on a dry weight basis, we were calculating down to 0% moisture. So we were drying it as dry as it would go.
Like,
And
so when you're doing that, because you actually, when you inhale it, that's the THC you're inhaling, or is that just how, like, why it doesn't? Okay. Who knows?
Yeah, truthfully, it's because the regulations said that we were doing this on a dry weight basis, and
Okay.
it was a way to normalize. If someone sends in a bud that has 6% moisture, another one sends in a bud that has 12% moisture, moisture correction to 0 was a way to have a level playing field so
Okay.
that we were comparing apples to apples.
And is that how you do other products besides like normal products that aren't cannabis that might have weight issues? Is
It
that a thing?
depends. It depends. When things are sold by weight,
Yeah.
and yes, moisture can fetch more dollars because the product weighs more.
More. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because we're reporting what percentage of the weight is made up by THC. The drier the product is, the higher the potency.
Okay.
Right. And now the CCC has said we need to stop doing that. We're just measuring potency as it arrives, and we're not moisture correcting. And their reasoning for doing that is because that's how the consumer gets it.
Okay.
That's how much potency is actually in the bud that the consumer gets. So reducing the THC inflation.
Okay.
Whether it's right or wrong can be debated, and I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on which way we do, but it's really important that labs all do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That way we're de-emphasizing THC, we're not incentivizing lab shopping, and making things more honest.
They should be de-emphasizing THC. I don't know, it's excessive. Okay.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
So we're gonna see, the result is we're gonna see THC numbers drop in the state by 5 to 10%. And everyone kind of needs to recalculate in their mind what numbers they're looking for when they go to a dispensary. So that 30% bud may now say 23% on the label, but it's the same thing that you were smoking before.
Right.
And I don't know what prices are going to do, but
I think they're all high. I think it's high. It almost doesn't matter like the percentage anymore. I think it's all still kind of high. It's interesting. All right, so they're gonna go down. Oh,
numbers are all going down.
Interesting. All right, we'll have to keep an eye out for that one. I hadn't really thought about it. So who was giving input for this? Was it manufacturers? Was it
No one.
No
one
one.
was giving input. The CCC created these bulletins. They tried to do this in November and fumbled it because the letter that they sent to labs, again, was too vague and didn't make sense. And it seemed like a suggestion or a guideline.
Oh,
and not mandatory. So the labs, we have an association of cannabis testing labs in Massachusetts, got together and asked the CCC to meet with us so that we could express our frustration about trying to interpret what they wanted. And then they came out with a new letter in March that clarified, yes, it's mandatory, and this is exactly what you're doing. And they gave us 30 days to implement it. That time has passed, and so this is now how labs do it.
All right. So that's interesting. All right. So I'll see now that I'm in the shops. I'll see if I can see a difference. Interesting. Okay.
Well, and keep in mind that everything that was tested before around April 19th is grandfathered in. So it's going to be a while before we see the new stuff on the shelves.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be educating them. All right. So that's what it means for Massachusetts people. See what's happening. All right. So this industry is annoying and hard, and things change all the time, but everyone stays in it for a while. So what is it that keeps you here? What got you into this industry? You seem like a young, lovely woman who's like in a beautiful office, and you're like, I think I want to jump into cannabis. So what is your why? How did you get here?
Yeah. Okay. So, I was a professor before this, and I loved my job. I wasn't looking for something else. But liberal arts colleges are struggling across the country, and teaching, I think, is a really hard thing to do in our current climate. And as I had said, the testing labs in Massachusetts were backed up 8 weeks, and we really needed more. It was bottlenecking the industry in Massachusetts. I'm a long time um, burner at Burning Man, and cannabis has not, it's not been a huge part of my life, but I have many friends and family members who rely on it. And so I wanted to help, especially in Western Mass, to bolster the industry. And I was feeling really entrepreneurial. And for me, it was about building a science lab and hiring young scientists and advancing their careers and bringing professionalism to the industry, so that this can be taken seriously as a medicine. I think those are the reasons that I jumped into it. And then the reason I stay is really for the people. It's very frustrating. It's very lonely. Many weeks I and many others wonder, why are we doing this? And then we get together. We have trade shows, conferences, women's networking groups, and it really reinvigorates me to keep going, to make this industry what we want so that it's effective. And I just think the best people are in this industry. It's there's
You're
really
healed. I think that's what I say a lot. Like the women I meet are healed, and when else do you get healed? Leaders. And I just think women have a unique skill set for this industry. Again, until the Supreme Court says we aren't human, which they're heading towards. There's an entire generation of women like me and you. Like the Gen Xers, nobody even knows we're here. We're here. We got our degrees. We got our stuff. We had our kids. We tried to lean in. Sometimes they didn't work, but our brains are still here, and we're still here to add value. And again, a lot of women my age who dropped out of the world of monetizing work because of their children, the damn children.
Yes.
But they do want to continue using their brains in a way. And this, I think, is an interesting industry to come into, and it could look differently. It could be focused on caregiving. So, I don't know. Should we talk about your family? How does your family feel about your cannabis work, your cannabis use? How do you talk about it with them?
My kids are pretty young to understand. My oldest is 6, my youngest is 3. I talk with my 6-year-old about drugs and the plants and what I do, and that there are good ways to use drugs and bad ways to use drugs. I do have to occasionally catch him from taking a pen to school that has cannabis on it, or when I'm going to do pickup, I might hide my cannabis necklace or something, because I don't know how teachers and other parents will feel about it. So I'm not totally out there fully yet. But
you're close.
yeah, I mean, the reason I do this really is for public health and safety, and I think of my boys a lot because my boys are party animals. I anticipate when they're teenagers, they're going to be party animals, and I want them to be able to figure out what works for them safely in a safe environment with total knowledge of what they're consuming. And, it's all about harm reduction. And for that reason, we have free fentanyl testing kits at our lab that anyone can pick up at any time, no questions asked. And it's really about making sure that my kids are in a safe world when they're older, that this, it really keeps me going.
I mean, that you're taking it to like a nth degree of that, mama, keeping people safe, like setting up your own lab. But it's also the normalization, I think. Like part of it is literally just, again, I talk about it. I play tennis, I wear pearls, I talk about cannabis all day long. It's just like a normal part of like what I do now. And it's just, we are the anomaly in history. Cannabis has always been around, and it's criminalized for a really bad reason, which kind of like the descheduling, rescheduling. Actually, we haven't talked about that yet. So I was just down in Washington, D.C. with Last Prisoners Project and Parabola Center, but also more conservative groups that were down there on a bipartisan coalition to talk about descheduling and taking cannabis off of the Controlled Substance Act and some other bills that are out there. There was this movement, obviously, about bringing it from 1 to 3. So everyone knows what I think. What's been your reaction? What have you been thinking about? How do you think that's going to impact the industry, like here in Massachusetts, but nationally as well?
Until I see what the regulations say, I'm reserving judgment about exactly how this is going to impact things. I think it's a move in the right direction for sure. I'm really excited about scientific research.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times in the last 5 years I have said we need more research,
Yes.
or we just don't know. And the schedule has really inhibited how much scientists can get their hands on the plant. Universities around me all want to do research, but they're
Yep.
too scared to lose federal funding if they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is going to be really great for the normalization and mainstreaming of cannabis. So I'm really excited about all that that's going to bring. I don't know how it's going to impact the rules and regulations. As you said, I wish it were paired with getting more people out of prison. I don't know how this is going to impact interstate commerce, or what the rules around testing will be, and whether there will be
Yeah,
some
that's a big one. That's
standardization.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every state is doing something so differently that to suddenly have every state switch, I think, is 10 years out. I think it's going to be a long time before there's real true interstate commerce. I think it's going to stay for a while that states are regulating how things are tested on their own. So yeah, I'm kind of remaining open-minded until I really see some words on paper.
Yeah, the big things I've really been on. So I'm connected to the Parabola Center, and I went to Harvard Business School, did a
Mhm.
policy forum last weekend or 2 weekends ago. So those
Yeah,
are people real. Again, I don't really understand how the federal regulation world works, but it's slow and it's got a lot of minutia, and nothing seems easy. So when they're talking about what is going to happen if it goes to 3, really just sounded to me like it could get stuck in this mire of like federal bureaucracy and then never actually be descheduled. So,
yeah,
and again, I just keep going back to the idea that alcohol and tobacco were never put on the Controlled Substance Act. There was no reason for it to have been put on in the first place. You know what I mean? So it's
right,
frustrating that we have to take an intermediary step when the reason it's on there to begin with is ridiculous.
right. Yeah,
Right?
no, it makes absolutely no sense.
It's frustrating to me, but I guess we live in this world. Anyways, I don't really understand it. I understand enough to be a little nervous that this could like ruin some of the more social equity minded issues that we've been dealing with. Specifically, I talk about building a new industry that looks like a caregiver, trying to keep this, um, I don't know, not just pharmaceuticals. I think that's the real scare is that pharmaceutical companies are going to take over and they're going to be the gatekeepers of
Mhm.
this
Right, right.
this
Yes,
plant medicine, which is
yes,
it's very frustrating to a lot of people, especially people who've been fighting forever to get this legalized. And that's a whole nother world that I know, but I'm not really part of. So.
yeah.
All right. Scheduling. Women in cannabis. Okay, I just gotta say this is a true story. We were at NECAN and we were chit-chatting, and Megan is a woman, and it's her lab.
Yeah.
This man walks over, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, "Do you guys know anything about this? Or do you know anybody who could tell me about this?" Or whatever it
Yeah,
was. And I'm
yeah.
like, she can. She knows all about it. And she had the lab shirt on. It wasn't like she wasn't like representing.
Yeah, yeah. I can't tell you how many times someone has come up to me at a trade show booth where I'm wearing, I've got the Safetiva logo on my shirt. I've got the Safetiva, it says Cannabis Testing Labs behind me. And they ask if they can talk to my boss, or I've got a male colleague standing next to me and they only talk to him. They only make eye contact. They hand their business card directly to him. I was at a show in New Jersey recently, the MJ Unpacked show, and I was talking with a male friend, and another man came over, and I looked at him and I said, "Oh, what do you do? What's your role in the industry?" And he only talked to my friend, handed his business card right to. I asked the question, and he wouldn't even look at me. It was like his shoulder was even blocking me from this three-way conversation happening. So I just looked at him and I said, "I'm out," and I walked away because I'm not going to tolerate just being completely ignored. And
Besides being stupid, it's just very bad manners.
yes, and us women take note,
Yeah.
and it really symbolizes for me I make a mental note. I'm not going to do business with that person. So it's,
So, I mean, I do joke. I say, I only talk to women in the industry. So when I go to the events like NECAN and I see men, I'm like, oh my God, there are men here too.
you have created a bubble for yourself,
I
Joyce.
have. I'm very happy in it. I'm very happy in it. I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll be in a world where a man is talking at me about money. Usually, it's usually like a money situation and why women aren't getting money for their businesses. One guy actually told me because women aren't prepared,
Oh,
and I'm like, my PTA mom had exploded. I'm like, not only are we prepared, we're prepared for the person behind us, next to us, the kid across the street. We know everything that's going on with everybody.
right.
It's not that we're not prepared. Your rules don't make sense. I'm sorry. That is not the issue. It is not us. It's you. It's you. Face it. It's you.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. All right. So how are we going to fix this? How are you helping? You're hiring women. You're engaging
Yeah.
women.
I started a women's networking group, which I should talk to you more about. We meet monthly, and with my friend Peyton Shubrick from Six Brick.
Peyton. Yeah, I love Peyton. Yep.
Yeah, just to get women together more often to commiserate, to talk about what we do, and to really network with each other, but to sort of build a shield around us a little bit, to name the bullshit, but to, strategize around it. And when someone's having an issue, they say, is this normal? And then we can all have their back and say, that's not normal. It's okay to take a stand against that. And so I just think the more women network with each other and lift each other up and not participate in any drama or competitiveness between women, but to really lift each other up, to support each other and take what we want from this industry, the better off we will all be together. So
Amen.
that's my mission. Yeah.
I like it.
And like you, I have a bubble. We have so many women at Safetiva. So all day long we're having a great time, and things are very organized and clean and functional, and then I go to these trade shows, and I think it makes it even more startling to me to interact with men in those spaces because of the world that I have built around myself.
But I was just thinking this: we are creating our own healing spaces. We are creating our own worlds. I'm moderating a panel tomorrow night for Sensi Magazine with some good hard hitters here in Mass, and that's sort of the universal theme. Like, again, I'm almost 59. I did all the stuff I was supposed to do. I kept feeling like it was me, like it was my problem that wasn't working out. And then one day I had this epiphany. I'm like, the world was not built for us. Like, that is the truth of it. So I can either play by their game and not really feel good enough about myself, or I can just engage in my own world. You can join me. I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix things. I just know how to, I don't know. I think this is what cannabis has taught me, to have a new perspective.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's why we do this, because we want to lift up your stories, because you guys are the pioneers. You're doing stuff that's different, and nobody knows what we're doing. Like, literally, if someone tells you they're an expert in cannabis, they're lying. It's like literally every day stuff changes. You know what I mean?
That's
But
right.
you're staying in it. And again, I've been in there for 6 years now, I guess, at this point in Massachusetts. So much has changed. We're talking about descheduling, which I don't love. Rescheduling, I would like to talk about descheduling, but maybe I'm too ambitious. And it's it's starting to normalize. It's bipartisan. This should be something that's easy. I talk about farmers. I talk with Texas Congress people. My son just built a guitar out of hemp wood. I mean, that just puts your imagination out there. How many other product lines this could be used for, in a way that could be really good for the earth. So
Right.
gotta keep going, Megan. Gotta keep going.
I know.
I know it sucks. I'm sorry. All right. Can I ask you one more question about some of these new cannabinoids?
Yeah.
Have you heard of THCV?
Yeah.
And
We test for THCV.
So what is that? What is that? And what's it supposed to be doing? And yeah.
Oh boy, you're
Yeah.
gonna really put me on the spot.
Oh, I just keep hearing about. I hear about all sorts, and I know there are hundreds of cannabinoids. I don't know why this one's special, why it's elusive, why I'm hearing about it now. Yeah.
I'm not sure why you're hearing about it, especially. The THCV is one of those. It counteracts THC, and I hope I'm right about the chemistry of this, but it has a very short carbon chain, which competes in the the receptors, the endocannabinoid receptors with THC. And so like CBD, it can kind of make the effect of THC a little bit calmer. It's again, this is one of those areas where we need a lot more.
Well, they're again, they treat it like supplements. I don't even understand it, and I talk about it all the time. So when I go on these, whatever, a lot of these products are made from hemp, so they are interstate commerce, and I'm not even sure what they're really selling anymore. It makes me uncomfortable a little bit. And I talk about how you almost need to know your farmer who's growing your hemp product.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So one important thing that I would love to say that THCV and other cannabinoids are naturally derived from the plant, whether it's hemp or cannabis, same thing. They're naturally derived. There are also synthetic cannabinoids that are completely lab made that could be complete homologs of cannabinoids. So they're exactly the same. They just come from a different source, and those can be safe or they can be not safe, just naturally derived products can be safe or unsafe. There are many cannabinoids out there that are labeled as hemp derived. Whether they are or not, it's almost irrelevant. It's just really a regulatory loophole that people are trying to jump through with that term. But there's plenty of THCV and other minor cannabinoids in cannabis. And so ultimately we need more testing. We need to agree on what these terms mean. We need clear regulation. These products need to not be sold in convenience stores and gas stations with no knowledge of what's in there. Just no testing, no safety screen, no rules about what needs to be tested. And
maybe the guy selling you the gas has tried it. Maybe you should ask him. But I never ever, I've been saying this from the beginning of the show, never buy your products at a gas station. That is just absurd. It's just, don't do it. You don't know what it is. And again, until we have federal testing on these hemp products that are kind of like in this loophole, the best place to get your products are really in your state, right?
Yep.
That has a
in
dispensary.
Your state, know who's it's like sushi. You don't want to buy gas station sushi. Sure, it might be from the same source, but that doesn't mean it's safe. And our kids are smoking that because they can't walk into dispensaries and buy these products, and so they're bringing these unregulated vape cartridges to school. They're getting very sick. Can you talk
about safety, can you just kind of go through the range of things that could happen if you're eating, consuming, whatever, one of these products that might not be what it says it is?
Yes. There are many reports worldwide about unsafe cannabis products being consumed. We've met with school counselors and health officials here at our lab who are really concerned because of what they're seeing. Many reports are in having students who are having psychotic breaks, students who are passing out in the middle of the school day. Not in my local area, but around the world, there are serious reports of deaths that are occurring from some of these products. And they range from headache to extreme anxiety to
so basically if you're looking for these products to help with some depression or sleep or anxiety, these could actually be things that exacerbate the issues you're having because you don't really know what's in them. And I don't know anything about the human body. I say this all the time, but this molecular biology thing is real. There's stuff going on, things are connecting, hooking up, and they make you feel a certain way. And you don't want to feel nauseous, you don't want to feel sick, you don't want to feel dizzy, and you certainly don't want to feel more anxious than you already feel if you're taking this to sort of relieve it. So, we have a regulated, tested market here in Massachusetts. If you want to try some products, spend a little bit more money, go into the dispensary, get something and see if it works, because then you'll really know. Because if you buy something that's not good, you'll never know.
That's right.
That's true. All right, so that's THC. All right, what time is it? I can't see my clock. Oh, we're almost done. Okay. Do you have a favorite way to consume, and what is it?
I'm an edibles fan because I like food.
Okay.
I really like gummies. I really like drinks. I've got a vape pen that I keep in my purse socially. But when I'm at home by myself, it's usually edibles, something something at the end of the day to relax my mind and my body. And I like socially having a drink in my hand that's not alcohol. I'm really looking forward to the days when there are bars around us that aren't alcohol bars, but are cannabis bars. I'm excited about that.
I'll go back to one more testing thing. So beverages are big in dispensaries now, but now they're all coming in. I can see them in just regular stores because they're made from hemp. Have you
Yeah.
ever tested any of those? Do you have any idea what's actually in those?
We've tested CBD based products before, not THC.
Yeah.
But I put those in the same category as gas station vape carts.
Yeah.
There aren't regulations about how those need to be tested, and so they're slipping through these loopholes, and who knows what's in them.
And the way just to my basic understanding, so the solvents could be involved with
There could be
extracting
solvents.
the Delta 9,
Yep.
what do you get from Delta 9?
Delta 9, there are Delta 8 drinks.
Delta
There
10,
are,
whatever, they got all sorts
yep.
of whatever random Delta that's on there. It's an extraction, right? With solvent. So the solvent is kind of the issue. Yeah.
Solvents are one of my biggest concerns for sure.
What
Yeah.
happens if you ingest too many solvents? Is it just what happens?
Well, it depends on how you're consuming them, but there are cancer causing compounds. They can cause ulcers, they can cause a lot of lung damage. So a lot of these small molecules can cross the blood-brain barrier. It's ugly. It's really, especially long-term use. And you wouldn't know. The guy in Washington, D.C. who said, we all smoke it and it's fine. You wouldn't know for, maybe a decade later that something wasn't safe.
Well, and I just think it's a funny market because it's, the old market is really people just got it from whoever. Nobody expected to know what was in it anyways. I talk about the market of women my age, and you talk about women your age who we know how to shop. We know how to buy stuff. We don't want to poison ourselves or our family. So going into a dispensary is reasonable, and to know that people like you are still involved in the industry who are trying to do this right, and that we are, again, pioneering, and you're trying to setting up some standards across the board because that's how we keep our food safe, right?
Right. Everyone should know that when they go to a dispensary, you have the right to ask for the COA, the certificate of analysis, to see the test results. And just because something passed doesn't mean it was free from solvents or pesticides or something. It just meant that it was lower than the state limit, which are pretty arbitrary. And make sure that something was tested at a reputable lab. Not all labs are the same.
Can you? Is it on the lab? Like, does it say which lab tested it?
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
On the COA, we'll have the lab logo.
Okay.
You'll know who tested it. I can teach anyone what the tricks are for finding any shady things on the COA.
So that should be like that should be a post.
Yeah, I can certainly do that. Hopefully we're going toward normalization, standardization, really clear regulations so that you won't have to ask the question, is it safe? You'll just know because it's in a dispensary, it's safe, but we're not quite there yet.
But we're getting there because people like you. All right. So, Megan, if anyone wants to connect with you, they want to use your lab for testing, they want to reach out to you just because they like you, what is the best way to find you?
Thanks. We're at www.safetiva.com. It's like sativa, but safe. That's how you can spell it. Or reach out to me at mdobro@safetiva.com.
And it'll be all in the show notes. Are you doing anything fun from the month of May? Do you do any like mom things or
no, I'm a small business owner.
Yeah.
There's no fun.
She's gonna be resting people. All right, so that's another show. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for seeing. I see you at events. We see each other around, and that'll be great. Okay, so that's another show. So for my guest, Megan Dobro of Safetiva Labs, and of course my Canna Bro David Jazz, and my Canna Mom Show team, I want to thank you for listening to the Canna Mom Show, where we continue on our mission of enhancing the impact women have on the emerging cannabis business by sharing and preserving their stories of love, hope, wisdom, and kindness. Thank you for listening and sharing. So together we will crush that stigma around cannabis and caregivers. I'm your host, Joyce Gerber. This is the Canna Mom Show, and we are a production of Pod 617, the Boston Podcast Network.